This lesson is on simplifying ratios. Now, we already did this lesson yesterday in class, but I thought I would record it and post it to my ESA so you have access to the examples at any time if you're confused. One thing we need to understand about simplifying ratio is a ratio in simplest form is when it's a whole number compared to a whole number. That's not necessarily lowest terms, okay? So that's different from a fraction that way. We talked about this example in particular. I made $60 and you made 80. We're going to write the ratio in simplest terms. So the first step is to write it in fraction form and reduce. Now the first thing we can do here, obviously, divide by 10. And you should be able to recognize 6/8 as 3/4. So this is the ratio in the simplest terms. Now this happens to be lowest terms as well, but as you're going to find out through some of these examples, not everything is lowest terms. We talked about how to deal with ratios with decimals. If Anna has $5.25 and her sister has $6, let's write a ratio of their net worth in simplest terms. So the first step is to write it in fraction form. Now we have to ditch the decimal, and how do we do that? We multiply by a power of 10. Since I need to bump the decimal 2 places, I need 2 zeros. You don't have to write times 100, but you can just rewrite it as 525 over 600, or you do the swoop thing that we talked about, okay? Now you have 525 over 600. You're going to start reducing. You might want to divide by 5. And that'll get you 105 over 20. Oops, not 20. 120. Then you're going to want to divide by 5 again, and that will get us 21 over 24. Oops. And then you should recognize those as multiples of 7, lies 3. I saw the 7 there at 21. And get 7/8. You could also come back here and use number cents. $5.25. And because it ends in 25 and the bottom number is also a nice round dollar amount, those are multiples of quarters, right? How many quarters in $5? Well, 5 times 4 is 20, and then one more. That's where you're going to get your 21. And how many quarters in 6? There are 24 quarters in $6. So you could kind of skip all of this stuff if you have simple numbers like that. If not, we're just going to follow the steps. Step 1 to write in fraction form. Step 2, ditch the decimal. And step 3 was reducing. And I still need to reduce this to 7/8. In the next example, let's talk about homework. Hayden spent 4.6 hours on homework last week and Curtis spent 3.8. What is the ratio of time spent on homework in simplest terms? And I've bold-faced the phrase simplest terms, so we start using the same thing. Okay, let's follow those same steps again. Write it as a in fraction form. So Hayden came first. 4.6 to 3.8. Bump that decimal. And if you feel you can do it, pause the video, solve it now. Okay, let's check your work if you've done this. I bump that decimal, you get 46 over 38. And there's not too much reducing here. I can see that they're both even. So I'm going to get 23 to 19. So for every 23 hours Hayden spends on homework, Curtis spends 19. Now, obviously, 4 hours is less than 23, but this is simplest terms because there's no decimals, there's no fractions. It's a nice whole number on top of a whole number. We also talked about having fractions in your ratios. Okay, so we have 3/8 compared to 2/5. So you're going to write it in fraction form, which starts to look like that big totem pole of numbers. Okay, or if it's written like this on your piece of paper, you could just kind of slide that line in there and think of it as 3/8 divided by 2/5, because that is exactly what this says. So I have 3/8 divided by 2/5. We keep, change, flip. Okay, so that's all part of this. You might want to put KCF in here to spur your memory. There's no cross canceling we can do, so we end up with 15/16, and that is indeed in simplest form, not the lowest terms. 3/8 is lower than 15/16, or actually 3/8 is a lot smaller than 15, but we have it in a nice round number now. Mixed numbers. We had quite a few of those. If you're cooking and a recipe calls for 2½ cups of sugar for every 3 1/3 cups of flour. I already did step 1. I wrote it in fraction form. You cannot convert these to decimals because 1/3 doesn't end, and so you're going to lose your accuracy there and not come up with the correct answer. So we have to convert these to improper fractions first. So I'm going to have 5/2 divided by 10/3, right? Keep, change, flip. And now I can cross cancel. So 5 divided by 5 is 1, and 10 divided by 5 is 2. So I've reduced things already, and I end up with 3/4. Now remember, it's not 3/4 because it's 3 cups of sugar to 4 cups of flour. Reduce if needed. We didn't need to. Now, watch your units. Remember, you're going to have some that have different units, inches and feet. So before you can simplify any ratio, the amounts must be in the same units. Watch for comparisons that mention feet and inches or even yards. Watch hours to days or hours to minutes or minutes to days, okay? So let's try 11 inches to 2 feet. And there's 2 different ways you can do this. There's a challenging way and an easy way. I like the easy way of saying 2 feet is how many inches? Now you have 11 to 24. That's done. There's no simplifying, so why would you do it any other way? The hard way would be to go to inches. This is 11 out of 12 inches, and 2 feet is 24 out of 12 inches. And this is, again, divide the top by the bottom. So you would keep, change, flip. I'm going to come up here with that. Keeping the 11/12, changing it to multiplication, flipping to 12/24. Oops. I got excited about the 12s. I'm going to cross cancel the heck out of 12. I mean, I'm already doing way more work than I need to, right? And I got that. But obviously, going to feet is easier. I wanted to show you both ways because there's no wrong way to go. Just choose whatever's easiest for you. Most of us will do this every single time because we avoid the fractions. But if this makes more sense to you, maybe the numbers are a little bit different and maybe the fraction is the easier way to go. I just wanted you to see how that would work all the same. And we get the same answer.